China mentioned ASEAN. Philippines also, obviously, as a member, mentions ASEAN. For both sides, what does ASEAN represent?
Well, if we go back to the history of ASEAN, ASEAN really represented an opportunity for building a community, really. And that's what all the efforts around economics was about, no? And I think all the ASEAN members have invested quite a lot in that. For China, given its interests, no, it actually does not see an ASEAN community as being in its interest, because that's like a unification of all the countries that they call peripheral countries. So,
and yet it still talks about ASEAN centrality.
Yes, but it talks about centrality when all the ASEAN members know that that's not what its practice has been. Huh?
So what's its purpose in constantly mentioning this? What's its strategic goal?
I think it is now shifting to try to alienate the Philippines, or to separate the Philippines from the rest of ASEAN, to set us against each other, essentially. Try to isolate the Philippines, hoping that this will, put more pressure on the Philippines or counteract the apparent effectiveness of its advocacies and positions. They're trying to head off the other ASEAN nations, viewing the Philippines, as taking a new and possibly correct path, a new option vis-a-vis China. And that's why they're trying to, again, drive divisions into ASEAN.
I see. So they're trying to paint the Philippines as an exception, as an outlier.
Yes, and a troublemaker.
Or at the very least, a deputy sheriff of America in Southeast Asia. If Australia is a deputy sheriff in the Indo-Pacific, that's the kind of rhetoric they want to put forward. I think President Marcos Jr.'s speech was spot on in terms of saying we are for ASEAN centrality, but a centrality that is not just aspirational or symbolic, a centrality that is embodied in inclusive and effective forms of conflict management. If you're just going to be the spokesman for China, there's no centrality if you're just a fodder for China, because China wants to use ASEAN to exclude America and other so-called external powers out of the question. So I think this was why what we saw was not really this responsible defense diplomacy, but really wolf warrior troll kind of diplomacy by the Chinese representatives in the Shangri-La Dialogue.
And I think it's also important to note that, ASEAN and community building was about treating each other as equals. And the experience of many ASEAN members vis-a-vis China clearly has not been one of equals. And China does not lose the opportunity to emphasize its superiority or the preemptive nature of its interests. So I think that's why it simply doesn't connect with ASEAN.